Welcome and thank you for watching the 2016 Tahoe Regional Young Professionals Candidate Interview Series for the City of South Lake Tahoe. TRYP is a politically neutral organization and does not endorse candidates or ballot measures. This video series is produced to prepare our community to make an informed vote on November 8th. Each of the 10 candidates will have 10 minutes to answer 3 questions they received in advance and 1 free-form question. We're here with Tamera Wallace. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Devin.
So we're going to dive right in with the first question. What are your goals for the city and how will it look in the next 5 years?
Well, the major goals that I have are, one is to deal with the VHR issue. I think that it should be dealt with through zoning, through enforcement, and I really believe that all the parties need to come together, the locals who are being affected and the real estate and the city need to come together and work on the issues, and I hope that that's completed, or at least looks better than it does now in 5 years. The second thing is I believe that the Tahoe Valley Area Plan is one of the most important things that our city has done recently, and that I would like to see it implemented. I would like to see projects in the ground and new projects happening, and there are some new projects already starting. The City Council voted on 3 projects at their last meeting with Dr. Lehman, and those look amazing with the mixed use, and it's wonderful. The last thing, last thing, is roads. Our roads are in horrible condition, as most of you know, and you know, I'd like to see the potholes fixed where we're not losing anything smaller than a Volkswagen in those potholes. So those are the 3 main things, in addition to affordable housing, which I believe is dealt with in your next question.
So vacation rentals, making sure Tahoe Valley Area Plan gets implemented, in roads are sort of your 3 big,
Along
your
with
big
affordable
tasks,
housing.
and affordable housing. So yes, talking about affordable housing, what concrete actions should the city take to provide more housing affordability in South Lake Tahoe?
One of the things that I believe, and I've said all along, is the city and governmental agencies simply need to get out of the way. The other thing is they need to lower their fees dramatically. For instance, the Tahoe Valley Area Plan projects that I spoke of. Mm-hmm. The city had the opportunity, or the council had an opportunity, to really incentivize some of those commodities that we deal with every day. One is the land coverage, and they ended up costing this project, or these projects, $27,000 per residential unit, and there were 16 residential units, so it was just shy of $500,000. It was money that the city had spent to create that land coverage, banked land coverage, decades ago. So they could have easily incentivized that and given that to those projects so that it would make those projects pencil out. That will then, now those monies will be transferred onto the people who rent or lease those projects. And it would be nice if the city or the council had voted. In fact, it was a 3-2 vote. And 2 council members voted to give it to them, 3 voted not to. And I wish that we had that 3rd vote on there for the good.
Yeah, so your take is the city should sort of have proper incentives, remove the barriers to private investments coming in, and then sort of step back and let the private developers do what they do.
Cities aren't developers. Cities can, you know, incentivize development, they can encourage development, but they're not developers. So putting the affordable housing issue on the city is probably not the appropriate place for it. I don't believe anyway.
Where do you think the more appropriate place is?
With developers, with private people, with the people in this community who have the ability to do it without the bureaucracy.
Perfect. So with the known impacts climate change will have on Lake Tahoe, do you think the city has a responsibility to implement policies to address this?
I think that's more of a global issue than a global issue rather than a local issue. However, we are a city who is pretty aware of those types of things. And I think that one of the biggest things that we can do locally is fire protection. The detrimental impact of fires on climate and other things like that is tremendous. So one of the things that I've worked on is I went with a delegation to Washington, D.C., trying to get an around the lake district, for lack of a better term, formed of all the fire people, and so that we can work together. There are times when they don't even have, when there's several groups at a fire, they don't even have the ability to communicate between groups. It's very difficult for organizational purposes with fire, especially like a catastrophic fire with Angora. That was a big deal, and those groups didn't have the ability to communicate with one another effectively. So you get some crossed messages with that kind of thing. I think that's really important. I think the other thing with regards to that is until families can have something more than substandard housing, and until they can put food on the table, climate change is not going to be their greatest issue. So if we can fix those things for families, I believe that families and local people who wouldn't normally want to deal with that will start taking a better look at it.
So sort of get people up to the level where they can start worrying about it.
Exactly.
And then on the other side, start planning for sort of those changes that we maybe not be able to prevent, but be ready for them.
Correct. A catastrophic fire has more impact than just burning homes and burning forests. It affects this whole region. It affects the world. Just look at how many times our basin fills with fire or fills with smoke when there's fires hundreds of miles away. This is something that we can do locally.
Perfect. All right, and now for the freeform question. As a self-proclaimed fiscal conservative,
Yes.
how would you prioritize spending by the city to help with socioeconomic problems like underemployment, escalating suicide rates, and housing scarcities our local workforce and seniors are struggling with?
It's sort of the same way that I believe about affordable housing. Some of those issues are not really, although they impact people in the city, they're not necessarily a city issue. And so I think the best way to deal with those things, especially as being a fiscal conservative, someone who believes that government should just get out of the way, they should just get out of the way. Make it easier for those things to happen. Make it easier for those things to be dealt with. Instead of putting up barriers, adding bureaucracy layers to those kind of things. I think really suicide rates hurt my heart. I have 5 children. I would hate for one of them to feel that they had the need to do that. However, I'm not going to go to the city and ask them to help me. I think that that's done within families and with the appropriate people. And the same with all of those other things. I think that there are more appropriate places for it, and the city's role is to get out of the way.
So you really want to simplify things and make it easier for everyone to do what they need to get done.
Sorry for interrupting. The things that this city was created for, fire protection, police, and roads, are the things that our city should be focusing on, because those are the things that the community wants them to focus on. And those are the reason that the city was created. And that's what government is for, the things that the people individually can't do for themselves.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming in and interviewing with us today.
much.
And thank you for watching. You can watch this video and the rest of our candidate interview series on our website at TahoeTRYP.org or on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Tahoe Regional Young Professionals.